online education and learning and ICT. So it was a great learning opportunity for myself. We're running a little bit late because of the delay in the morning session. But I discussed with Wafa Seb. He said I ate the lunchtime, and Didar ate the open the 2018 IGF planning session time. So I apologize to our speakers who are online with us, Bahir Esmat from ICANN, Ania from the IGF Secretariat. But before we go to our speakers, I'm going to go up there. This is an open discussion with all of you, and I'm going to explain it, the purpose of this session, and what we would like to, discuss and the outcomes of the session. We started IGF 2017 preparations last year. But at the beginning, it was very slow. In the past few months, we give it some more time and worked hard on it. But since this was our first time doing IGF in Afghanistan, some of the Afghan delegates went to IGF 2016, 2015, 2012, and 13. They had some experiences from their attendance at these events, which were utilized, in a good way for preparation of IGF Afghanistan 2017. Now you've all been in this IGF with us, and there could be like a lot of things that you might have learned as lessons learned, and you might have some advices for the future. We might not have been able to engage all the stakeholders in Afghanistan properly in the way they had to, get involved in this process. But in the future, we would like to improve this. Let me log into this. So there are about 5 key items which we would like to discuss today, or 6. Number 1, lessons learned from IGFA 2017. Number 2, selecting a date for IGFA 2018. That will be non-decisional, meaning we're brainstorming, and we will definitely look into dates and other aspects later on when we come together again. But we need your views, like what could be the possible good dates for IGFA 2018. Key issues for IGFA 2018, we had included issues like access and diversity, cybersecurity, economic growth and development, youth and gender, and some other issues like emerging technologies, and IGFA 2017's key issues. But we want to hear from you what you think about the key issues we should include for 2018. And then the formation of a multi-stakeholder organizing committee. This year we had the ISOC local chapter, Afghanistan chapter, very actively engaged in this. We had members in our organizing committee from the Ministry of Communications and IT. There were people from the private sector, civil society, but we want to create an organizing committee from all stakeholders that could come from various sectors in Afghanistan. So a possible nomination on that, and what could be the role of the organizing committee. And then some pre-IGFA 2018 activities. So this is also very important. We want to, in order to engage with the stakeholders and create some awareness and education share experiences. We might do some activities, and I'd like to have your opinions on that. And then strengthening financial sponsorships that's needed to sustain IGFA, not only for IGF Afghanistan 2018, but how do we sustain the process that we have already started? We did it this year, and we're going to be doing it next year. But how do we financially sustain this movement, this process, for a longer term? So these are some of the key issues. I have invited Bahir Ismat from the ICANN, who's Vice President of the stakeholder engagement in Middle East and adjoining countries, which include Afghanistan and Pakistan. Anya Gingo is with us. She is with the IGF Secretariat, focal point for the NRIs, and NRIs means national and regional IGFs. She will be sharing opinion with us. And then we have Jug Gattuso from the CLDP, who is one of the key partners of IGFA 2018, and of course with ICANN and IGF Secretariat. Then we have MCIT. Do we have a representative from MCIT here who can be the key respondent? Nadia? Yes? Okay. And we have the Afghanistan Telecom Regulatory Authority. I think Yarisai is going to be representing. All right. From the private sector, we have Lewalsep here with us, and their GTR, Netlangs, technician. Who else is from the private sector here who can be our key respondent for today's session? Okay, all right, so we'll get there. Okay, so as I said, this is open discussion, so it's open to all of you. Whenever you feel like you have something to share, let me know so I can pass on the mic to you. But first, I'd like to go to, I'm not sure if we have Marcus there with us from IGF Support Association. Is Marcus online? No? And Naveed? Anyone from Facebook? Joe is there. Joe's from CLDP. Okay. All right. So I will check that later. Bahir, I'd like to invite you to share with us. How do you think IGFA Afghanistan was, and what are the lessons learned? You weren't able to participate with us for the whole of events, but you were kind enough to speak in a few of our sessions. That was very great, and thank you very much for that. But then what do you think we should do for the next IGF in 2018 to improve the stakeholder engagement, not only in Afghanistan, but possibly from some other countries in the region?
Thank you, Omar. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Once again, congratulations on a very successful IGF Afghanistan. I was able to take part in a few sessions yesterday, and I was frankly amazed with the level of engagement and interactions between or among the participants. The points you have raised, Omar, are very important. Looking towards the future, to consider key elements in relation to sustainability, in relation to continuity, in relation to keeping the local community engaged and helping with building bridges with the regional and international community as well. These are all very important points. I would say that one thing you might do in the next, say, 12 months till the second IGF in 2018. Um, and I know that you have a very active and vibrant ISOC chapter in Afghanistan. Omar, you've been leading this effort for some time. So I think the ISOC could be an excellent platform. The ISOC chapter in Afghanistan could be an excellent platform to uh, uh, maintain the dialogue about internet governance issues and to keep the community, the local community, engaged and updated on IG related matters. And from discussions that you have through the ISOC chapter, you will get to hear from your community on what topics they see of importance to Afghanistan, what the priorities are, what maybe projects or initiatives some of the community members would want to champion. So I guess if you are able to utilize the ISOC chapter to have this kind of ongoing dialogue with the local community, you will get the feedback, the necessary feedback to develop the agenda for the IGF 2018. So that's my first point. My second point in relation to engaging the local community in Afghanistan with international fora like the IGF, like ISOC, ICANN, APNIC, and so forth. As you know very well, Omar, there are many programs like fellowship program, ambassadorship program. Many of these organizations run those programs to encourage participation from developing and least developed economies. So I would encourage the internet community in Afghanistan to stay tuned for announcements coming from those organizations with regard to those programs and apply for such fellowships or fellowship opportunities. One thing or one question we often get at ICANN from people who say apply once for a fellowship and they are not successful, that they would shy from applying again. And my advice to anyone, please do not be shy from applying twice and for a second and a third time, because if not being successful for getting the fellowship doesn't mean that you won't have an opportunity to get it in the future. The thing is, there is a very strong competition from not only across the region but actually from all over the world on these programs. At ICANN, we get over 500 applications every ICANN meeting, and the number of fellowships is limited to 50. So the fellowship program or the ambassadorship program is one way to stay connected with the international fora, but there are also other ways. Following the work of the IGF or ICANN or any of the other organizations remotely, trying to become part of a working group. For example, the IGF, the global IGF, they have the best practice forums, they have the intersessional work, and all these processes are open for anyone. They're not restricted to MAG members. So, for example, if anyone with expertise in, say, cybersecurity, he or she can participate in the cybersecurity best practice forum work at the IGF and so forth. So there are many other ways for people to stay engaged, and I'm also sure that through the ISOC chapter in Afghanistan, you will be able to stay connected with the global internet society and the members of the internet society. So I'm going to stop there, Omar, to allow time for other participants to chime in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bahir. As Bahir said, there are so many international meetings, events. ICANN is doing, IGF Secretariat is taking care. There are other stakeholders like APNEC on the regional level, and there are regional IGFs like every IGF is coming. These are some of the platforms we can utilize to, further enhance our, understanding of the IG issues. And the fellowship program, that's very to get involved with some of these programs. There are people who went to ICANN meeting without being a fellow, but there were other people who went there as fellows. They got more involved and they had more, like a better understanding of what ICANN is and what it does and how they can get involved with that. So Bahir is suggesting that you follow the ICANN the news. So whenever there is an opportunity, I think the next round is coming in Abu Dhabi. There will be an ICANN 50. That's I think 60, right? It's open. Is it open? Okay, so
Yes,
that's the good
the
news.
announcement, yeah, the
Okay.
announcement
So
went out today. Yes.
okay, so that's a fresh news. It's today. They announced the fellowship application. ICANN's going to be accepting. So this is a real, and this is in our region, not very far, Abu Dhabi. So if you apply, possibly you will have more chances to get accepted. Now you know more about what ICANN is, right? Okay, so before we go to Anya, I'd like to take an opinion from the floor. Atra, and I'd like to keep it a little short for all respondents because we have this very nice lunch sponsored by Lewal Limited. And Lewal is here with us too. He's one of the pioneers of ICT in Afghanistan. When we were very young, I remember we would go to Lewal's office in Peshawar, Pakistan, and that was like the Taliban era. And we would buy some really nice tools, developed for in local languages, including the keyboard application that we will install in our computers, Windows-based and others, so we could use. Lewal is engaged in quite a few interesting activities and projects and programs. So I'm gonna ask him later on what he thinks about the future IGF. So before him, I'd ask Yari from ATRA, Afghanistan Telecom Regulatory Authority, to briefly share with us his opinion.
Just I would like before to very briefly insist on future multi-stakeholder participation for the upcoming years. I would like to explain some of the necessary steps that need to be taken in our local language with all your participants. یک چیز بسیار مهم است که معمولا اتر فرم ها اول که این فرم چه موثریت داره، ترکیبشان چطور باشه و نتایجی که از مباحثات و موضوعاتی که در اینجا رویشان بحث میشه چه نتایج به وجود میاد، این بسیار مهم است. ما فکر میکنم که یک گام نخستی که برای IGF افغانستان برداشته شد بسیار بسیار بزرگ است. ولی اگر ما سر ترکیب اینمی فورم در آینده فکر نکنیم، اما توقعاتی که برای نتایج پیش خود داریم و او را میخواهیم که جامعه عمل بپوشه، شاید وقدر قانع نباشیم تا سال آینده. هدف من است که اول این فورم ارگانیزرهای این فورم به حیث یک کاتالیست، به حیث یک تسریع کننده و به حیث یک فسیلیتیتر نقش خود را در آینده هم که ایفا کنه بسیار موثر خواهد بود. ولی در اکثر فرم‌هایی که به سطح کشورها گرفته میشه این سرمسکوپش فکر شوه. مجتمعها و یا جوامع نقش بسیار مهمی داره در مورد اتصال برنامه ها، اتصال پالیسی ها با مردم و جوامع دیگه، مجتمع ها و سوسایتی ها. اما نقش مهمی پالیسی ساز و تطبیق کننده های دقیق هم از لحاظ اشتراک، هم از لحاظ اجنده و هم از لحاظ نتایجی که بعدا مورد تطبیق باید کار هماهنگ شود. دومی که پرایوت سکتور باید اشتراکش در آینده زیاد شود. حتی کمپانی های بسیار بزرگی که هم در اینفراستراکچر هم در خدمات نقش بسیار مهمی داره و امی گپایی که ما شما میزنیم، پالیسی هایی که دولت جور میکنه یا از طریق پرایوت سکتور تطبیق میشه. اونا یک جانبی بسیار زیاد دخل پتانسیل است، اونا باید اشتراکشان بسیار قوی می بود. علاوه از اینکه مردم حتی جامعه همیشه ما گپ زدیم مثلا ای لرنینگ و دیگه موضوعات هستن که دیگه باید اونمو مؤسساتی که ضرورت داره و از اینترنت و از سهولتایش استفاده کنه، اونا نقشان در آینده باید بسیار قوی شود که حتی در جریان یک سال امی اجندای کار داخلی طور باید دایر شود که پلان جور شود، پلان های جور شود که امی سطوح را چطور تقویت شود و فرم آینده که در افغانستان جور میشه. علاوه از اینکه پارتیسیپیشن داخلی باید بسیار قوی شود، از منطقه مردم باید دعوت شود و دیگه سهم بگیره. برنامه هایی که ما یادآوری کردم مثلا دیجیتال کاسا یک برنامه بسیار کلان است، ما شاید اکثر فعالین سکتور از این بخبر باشه. از خاطر اینکه اینمی پارتیسیپیشن داخلی بسیار ضعیف است. مباحثی که باید صورت بگیره اینطور مباحث این ممکن است در افغانستان دایر شود، کسی او را اسپانسر کنه مثلا تقویت شود و حتی امی جوانب داخل که ما اشاره کردم اگه تنظیم شود، ما فکر میکنم که اسپانسرشیپ های اینطور برنامه ها یا امی که خوب به مصارف هم ضرورت داره این میشه که اینا سهم بگیره و امکاناتی داره. منتها یک تنظیم بهتر میخوایم. موضوع دیگه ای که میخوایم که برش اشاره کنم موضوع مؤسسات است، اشتراک مؤسسات. امکاناتی است ولی از این امکانات طوری وقت بهره گیری میشه که امی یک پارتنرشیپ یا مشارکت موجود باشه در خدمات. یک پالیسی جور میکنه، دیگه اینفراستراکچر دیولپ میکنه، دیگه خدمات عرضه میکنه، دیگه سافت‌ویر و لوکال کانتنت سرش کار میکنه. اینا یک چی باهمی است، یک فضای، یک محیط و یک گراوند اینتراکشن باهمی است و باید بسیار فعال شود. متاسفانه در اینجا امی از اون خاطر ما انگشت میگذارم، میگن وقت کریتیکال گپ میزنم، در اینجا جزیره های تیتو پاشانی وجود داره، اما اینمی ابتکار باید بخرج داده شوش که چطور امی پتانسیل و امی ظرفیت ها بین خود ارتباط پیدا کنه و بالاخره گام برداشته شود و به حیث یک دستاورد کشور امی خلاها رفع شود. مسائلی که ما پیشتر عرض کردم بسیار امی فقط گپ اخیری ما خواهد بود. مثال های بسیار زیادی وجود داره که هم ضرورت داریم برش، اما ما اکثر ما باید تو یک چیز میمانیم که گرسنه هستیم، ضرورت داریم یک چیزی پیش ما موجود هستن ولی ما قدر توانایی نداریم که او را صرف کنیم یا مثلا از پیشان استفاده کنیم. ما از اطلاعات و معلومات و اینترنت و اینا گپ میزنیم اما برای سازماندهی هیچ فکر نکردیم. سازماندهی و کوردینیشن بس خیلی بسیار ضرورت است. ما پیشنهاد میکنم آخر که در چوکات IGF افغانستان با فسیلیتیشن و اینکه همین پروسه را تسریع کنه با تمام جوانب داخل یک پروسه شروع شود که چطور همین مشارکت کلی را به وجود بیاریم و بالاخره این را پیش ببریم. تشکر.
تشکر بسیار زیاد. So, Anya, Bahir, and Joe, just to briefly translate what Mr. Yeri said, he put a lot of emphasis on the multi-stakeholder model and the need that we should engage diverse stakeholders involved, including the policymaker. He said this year, although we had quite a few representatives from the policymaking bodies, but it was not as representative enough, you know, and in the future we should improve that. He also said there could be important issues like related to policies, the gaps, you know, these could be added into the program and could be discussed. And he also said that private sector should take an active role and not only the sponsorships, but also you know, doing activities such as organizing workshops in others. And we should encourage participants from the other countries to come to Afghanistan, because there are some regional projects like Digital CASA, which means South Asia. CASA is an abbreviation of Central Asia, South Asia. So that's a project, you know, linking South Asia with Central Asia. And this is where Afghanistan plays an important role. In big players like the World Bank and others are supporting this project. So these were, and then, yeah, coordination was something else that he put a lot of stress on. Mr. Yari thinks that we should improve the coordination among various bodies involved to enhance the process further. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Anya, who's the NRI focal point at the IGF Secretariat, who has been very supportive of IGF Afghanistan. And now, one of the reasons we are able to speak with her and bring a lot of other speakers from other countries to do a remote presentation is because of Anya. She provided us, in her team, provided us with remote participation, WebEx accounts and all the setup technology. Obviously, our local partner, IU Global, had a big hand in that, and Joe's team as well. So I would like to invite Anya to share her opinions with us in that how IGF Secretariat can support the future IGF Afghanistan.
Thank you, Omar. I hope you can hear me there.
Yes, we can hear you.
First of all, I want to thank you on behalf of the Secretariat again for the opportunity to follow this event, to be involved and to kind of collaborate with your team closely during the preparatory process and just enjoy these past 3 days with wonderful content. There are a couple of things that I wanted to point out here. I think the work that you have done was so impressive that you gave a lot of homework to many of the colleagues within the national and regional IGFs and also to the global IGF, because really we stemmed some lessons for ourselves that I think we could use for improving the overall organization of the global IGF. So let me start firstly with an impressive fact, which is the total length of your first national IGF. As a focal point for the national and regional IGFs, from my position, I really have a pleasure to work on daily basis with many of the colleagues, and basically every month I'm just following all these events and kind of learning and trying to follow what the colleagues are doing within their respective countries and regions. And it is for the first time that one national IGF organized for the first time with all its challenges, which is a story for itself, um, is long 3 days, including the day zero. I think that was very impressive. And when I was telling my colleagues when they were asking me how the things are going, that that this is a 3-day event, really they were all amazed by the fact, because it's so unusual. Obviously, it's not everything about the quantity as such as much as the quality, and the Afghanistan IGF really offered wonderful content in terms of the diversity of the topics which were focused on the substance of the internet governance. But I also like that side where you use this opportunity to present to the community the work of some of the major stakeholders within the global IG arena, like for example sessions that you had on ICANN, or presenting the IGFSA, such as just or ISOC, or even the global IGF and many others. Uh, what was very impressive and unusual, I would say, for many of the national IGF is this great combination of the national and international speakers and stakeholders that were involved and that provided the substance on certain topics. I think that was really, in terms of your management and the strategy that you used to develop this agenda, it was very useful and it was very wise to do for the community, because somehow you opened the window of the world to the Afghanistan IGF for all of us to understand what are the issues, the good practices, and what should be improved. But you also gave to the respectful community of the Afghanistan a window to the world to see who are the stakeholders outside. And long-term speaking, as Baher said, this is something that's so useful for the community, because the community now can understand that outside there are plenty of opportunities for the stakeholders, individuals or organizations, to be involved in the global IG processes and to give their contribution on behalf of your respectful community. Uh, One also fact that I wrote down for myself not to forget, and really speaking now from my own position from this side of the internet, is just the wonderful and so useful conditions that you provided for the online participants. You know also that the global IGF, Omar as a MAG member especially knows that we are giving a lot of focus to the kind of making the conditions to be equal for people who are participating on site and online, which is not that useful. And it depends on many factors. First of all, it's not all about the technology, so it's not all about providing a stable connection. It's also has to do a lot with having that human approach, which is, I think, very important for the overall IGF environment, regardless of the level that of the organization. And I think your remote moderators did a wonderful job. Just speaking from this side, basically we had inputs on everything, and we communicated with them, and that was so important. And I know it's challenging for your team, and it's really all the compliments go in that from on that aspect as well. Um, there was also, in terms of contact speaking, something that was impressive for us. I think it was the first time, at least for the past 2 years that I've been working closely with the NRIs, that I've seen for the very first time. There was a session where you had probably the cutest audience I've ever seen. I would say range was between 7 and 11 years old. Of course, I'm speaking about this Internet Governance Academy for kids. Many of the national and regional IGFs do have their own side projects that are in a form of certain Internet governance academies. But usually those academies are, of course, formed for adults, for young people, but also for people that are going beyond those age range of youth. But for the children, I think this is the very first time that one national IGF focused really substantively and developed a separate track of activities for the kids to learn all about the internet. And I really liked your approach, because at the end they are on the internet, and this is so important to start from the scratch and to learn them how to use safely internet. So also this is something that I'm definitely going to report to my colleagues and to the wider community as maybe a good practice to be adopted by some of the NRIs and also the global IGF. You asked about the timing for the next IGF. Of course, this is mainly the question that goes to your team respectively due to the autonomy that you have and independency. But I will just share the experiences that I have on this side from my own position of the focal point is the fact that I honestly think this was a very wise decision from your management and your organizing team to set up the meeting to be in the first quarter of the year. So basically at the beginning of the year. And honestly, if you look at the current timeline of the annual events that the NRIs are organizing, most of those events are organized in the second half of the year, so from July until the December. And to be honest, in my opinion, it gives then less time for the stakeholders to look in what you have to offer and to see why they should support. And in any case, even if they want to support, it's very challenging if you have a couple of events in 1 month that are, or even events that are overlapping. So in March, as far as the Secretariat is aware, only the Afghanistan IGF reported that they are hosting the annual meeting. So moving, for example, in April, we're going to have 3 or 4 already national IGFs that are going to be held for 1 or 2 days. So that gives us as well a challenge, and I'm sure the colleagues will agree also to them, just to review what are the agendas, to review what are the outcomes, and at the end to engage and follow online. So this really gave a lot of space for all of us to reconsider the agenda, to review what you have to offer, and a lot of space really to engage into the discussion, because you provided also excellent conditions, as I said, for online participation. So I think it was a time-wise decision, and maybe it's worth of thinking to continue with this practice also for the next year. I think for the next year, and this relates to your question on how to provide sustainability for the National IGF of Afghanistan. I think for the next year, it's going to be even easier, because the next year you will be reaching, or this year for the next year, you will be reaching to the stakeholders now with already having an experience of success, because you already hosted an IGF, which was an impressive success, and I think the stakeholders now are aware. And if you give them enough time to review what was decided during these 3 days and how the event was organized, I'm pretty sure that there will be a huge success. I just hope that this team will stay with this IGF, because that kind of consistency is also important, that you don't have a completely new team that needs to learn, first of all, about what was happening previously, but just kind of to have the continuous team that will build on what's happening, and of course, just to engage the new people with the team. Having said that, I also think that the the success of reaching out to the stakeholders later will depend on good reporting after this. Many stakeholders, and I was looking at it carefully, follow the meeting also online. So I have seen many of the colleagues from many of the stakeholders, internationally speaking, that are, I know, supporting the national regional IGF. So I'm pretty sure now that they are aware how this was a huge success, and that gives us all confidence that they're going to give their support also for the next year. What could be improved? Well, I mean, speaking from this position, and as a member of the organizing team for the global IGF, I know how challenging it is to kind of do everything at the same time. So to give the support from your own team to the on-site support, but also to give the support at the same time to all of us from this side, right, to know what's happening. So to share the timely the updates through the website and through the social media. So maybe that's worth of also thinking for the next year, just that's sort of marketing, but also providing kind of timely inputs through the website and through the social media, which requires, I know, a lot of resources, and it's not easy at all, but I think it's worth of thinking, because many of the colleagues ask me what happened yesterday, or can we see maybe the transcript, or can we see the YouTube, or where can we find the WebEx links? So those kinds of simple things, I think, if they are tweeted or if they're shared through Facebook or any kind of social networks, and if they're available and easily, findable on the website, then that will also help for the next year. I think those are my quick points on what I wanted to say. But of course, if you have any questions, so what honestly is just to wrap up, what I can say from this position is that we are impressed, and that as much as the Secretariat can give the support, it of course will give the support, including I'm sure the MAG and also the wider IGF community. And hopefully the good work will just continue for the next years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anya. When we were speaking here, Marilyn was busy doing the IG Academy for kids, and you see here is a young lady standing with us. She was part of this program. And the other good news is that after lunch, we're going to have a Tech Women session. So it was not only kids, but the next gen, but we also are interested in providing the Afghan women with more opportunities in discussion on how we can provide them with more opportunities to get involved in IG issues and play a leading role there. Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna go to Joe first because. Okay, sure.
Anya, it's Marilyn. May I ask for Miriam, my assistant, to please join me for the feedback we're going to give? Yeah. So we just had a wonderful session with really children, and their conclusion, which Omar does not yet know about, and the organizing team is learning about now, is that they want to come back next year and organize the session themselves.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. That's a good news indeed. And they will be like a year older next year, and some of them will become, the next gen. They are the next gen, and they could possibly apply for an ICANN fellowship there. Okay, good. I'm not sure, but we can do a special case. I mean, yeah, take them as fellows in Afghanistan so that we can do a program here. So I'm gonna go to Joe, who's from the CLDP, one of our key supporters and partners in the program. And then we're going to have lunch. We actually thought that a number of the stakeholders who are interested would stay here, and the rest of the participants can go and have their lunch. So if you thought we could continue for a few more minutes, and the rest of the team who would like to have their lunch, I think the lunch is ready. They can take that, and the key stakeholders who have been engaged with us in IGF 2017, they can stay and we'll carry on our planning discussion. But I want to make an announcement that this lunch is kindly sponsored by Lewal Limited. They were very kind enough to let us know. They actually invited us for dinner, but we had a conflicting dinner. And then they said they will be happy to sponsor the lunch. Lewal Limited has been contributing in ICT sector for a very long time, and they have been partnering with different civil society organizations and private sector companies to hold programs, educational programs like this. They're running a TV channel which has educational programs, and they do a lot of other activities that helps enhance the capacity of Afghan young people. So Joe, please, if you can, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Good
A little, but if you can have volume, yeah, okay, that's good. Thank you.
I don't have a lot of experience with this, despite being in this field, but I want to say good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I realize that I am your speaker even releasing people for lunch. I'm still your speaker before lunch, and I'll be brief. But for another reason, I think I can be brief, is that there have been so many good comments by the previous speakers that I don't want to repeat what they said. The main thing I'd like to focus on is your question about sustainability. I agree wholeheartedly that this was a very successful event, and I'm really honored to have been a part of it. Some of you know that my role with CLDP, the Commercial Law Development Program, is to provide assistance to people in various countries on a number of issues, not just internet or telecommunications, but other legal matters. And I've been lucky to be working with Afghanistan for several years, helping to bring Afghanistan and bring the people of Afghanistan into the internet community, the internet governance community, and largely being able to do that through the IGF. And so I'm not part of the IGF internationally or nationally or anything, but I've seen some, and I know the principles, things like the multi-stakeholder concept and the multi-stakeholder approach. And I mean, even this session here demonstrates the use of that multi-stakeholder approach, because you're asking the participants to help plan the next event. That is the part of the development of this whole field. And with a successful event, what you will want to be looking for is, how do you continue the event, the success? This is an enviable position, that you're starting from a level of success, and yet it's going to take a lot of work to keep it going. And a couple of things I was thinking about is, one is, how do you make sure that, and maybe I'm being too modest in the sense that I know the other speakers were talking about making it even better, and that's what you want. But to keep it as good as it is, and to make it better, we will have to make sure that people will want to participate. And I'm saying the stakeholders of all different types, the government, the civil society. It was great to hear about the young people wanting to keep it up. And I think in order to do that, it's got to be relevant. What's discussed here and what's done is relevant to them. And you make it relevant to them by including them in the event, but also including them in the intersessional and other times and other events, and making it important to what they're doing. So if the participants of the IGF will be engaged throughout the year on some level, and see a value in this, they will make this even better. If the participants come from different stakeholder organizations, that's necessary, and we need to do that for each one of them. And for that reason, it's important to do that. Another thing I was thinking about is, if I think for a lot of your audience, this is the first time they've ever heard of an IGF. So that the question is, would they want to somehow participate in the international proceedings? It's very difficult to go to the international proceedings in terms of money and visas and time, but with the virtual participation, it's an easier thing to do, and people can see how what's being done in Afghanistan translates to what the whole world is doing. And that helps Afghanistan, starting with visibility, but it also helps Afghanistan in terms of being part of something bigger. What's done locally is going to be very important also. What's done internationally makes it part of a movement. And then the possibly most practical side of sustainability is being able to afford financially what you did this year, and to keep that going year to year. Because a lot of times you have the excitement of the first year, you have an interest, you have sources of funds that may not always be there, and the question is, how can you make sure that cycle after cycle that's going to be there? And I think working with the sponsors and planning ahead, as you suggested, are a way to do that. So I think with that, I'll leave it at that and see if there's any other aspects you want to talk about. If you heard me. I don't have audio. Did everybody get all that?
Yeah, we got it. I think they just muted.
I don't hear Omar anymore.
Yeah, I see he's muted right now.
With you guys. The internet is really something that helped the humanity and connect us all. And I think the internet passed the phase of connecting everyone, and now is moving to connect things. Many of you guys have heard that the internet is now going to connect things. So that means it's very important. And plus, since the agenda is only about the IGF sustainability and the future dates, I will just talk about those two. For the sustainability, I'm glad to hear to support next year IGF, if whatever we could, and in whatever way it was possible at that time. So I would like the organizer to discuss it with us next year. On the timing, I would really like that they move a bit the timing to the hot weather, maybe a month later, that everyone could enjoy coming to Kabul. Kabul is cold, difficult at this time to stay in. The next, for the sustainability, I have one really deep question for the ATRA to answer that. They have this huge TDF fund. They call it, what you call it, TDF, Telecom Development Fund, right? And I think that fund should be used for such activities, because in the first I see, I was just today when I come into this session, I was Googling the site of the ATRA and seeing that the TDF was not doing something impressive. So that fund should be, and Mr. Ansari, you should take note of this one. And I think you should have a proper proposal for them to give you that fund and utilize it for such creative and initiative activities. And in the past, they were using it just to buy some PCs, which are not telecom development. Anyway, thanks for everyone. So we are happy to invite you for the lunch, which we could afford this year as our contribution. And next year we will be here. But just as Mr. Ansari told you, we are involved in the internet, ICT, so many sectors, you talk it. But at this moment, we are focusing a lot on two things, which is education over the internet. You may see a player on the your tables, they might have distributed, which is very important. We can reach easily to many, many people in Afghanistan. I will talk, I think I have another section, which I will spare some words there. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Leval. The TDF idea was great. That was, we totally forgot about that there is an opportunity with the Afghan Telecom Regulatory Authority. And I think Mr. Yari has heard that and will definitely speak with him. So I'm going to invite Marilyn.
Thank you. My name is Marilyn Cade, and I always offer in every speaking opportunity the following tip, which I have found to be incredibly helpful. And that is, when you speak publicly, particularly in these international events, always say your name the same way and say it clearly. I'm going to focus on the importance of what you've accomplished in your inaugural IGF and offer you some tips from the role I played as the chief catalyst of IGF USA. First of all, it might be helpful to know that it took us 4 years to be able to launch our first IGF in the United States. And in order to do that, I held 3, 4, and 5-hour meetings a year to begin to build awareness and understanding about what internet governance was. We launched the first IGF USA in 2009. You have already exceeded what we accomplished by holding a 3-day event, we still hold only a 1-day event. But I've learned in our work, the work I still provide as the chief catalyst to IGF USA, and in work with other NRIs, I've served for the past 2 years, appointed by the chair of the MAG, Giannis Karklins first, and then Len Santamore, in support of the now focal point, Anya, that it really matters to provide some certainty. So I do suggest, from my experience, pick your date and try to stay with it in the same time frame for at least 3 years. The other thing to remember is organizations and businesses fail in the first 3 years. So try to build your sustainability model in your first 3 years and then build on that for other differentiation. So for instance, we're only now in the United States being able to hold remote events and build up. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the organizing structure. Try to be as flexible as you can, but establish the expectation that if people take a seat on the organizing structure, they really understand that this is a working role. It's a huge amount of volunteer work, and later I'll offer congratulations to the team here, but think about that. If you're going to do this, establish the expectation of how much work it is. It's important that people understand that when they step up to this role. On the financial side, build on what you have. Build on the support you've already got, and then look really, really hard at who's doing business in Afghanistan, and think about how you reach out to them to get them to add on as sponsors. Engagement and awareness. Doing interim events, as we did in the United States, 4- and 5-hour events where we benefited from having a speaker from a government agency to come and then do a panel and try to get media coverage so that we could teach people how to spell internet governance, even in the United States. That was a really important thing to do. And then finally, I just want to talk a little bit more about some creative I saw here that I don't see everywhere else, and compliment you on it. Your edition of the cultural event was fantastic. And the inclusion of this children's side event was fantastic. And the fact you organized an internet academy the day before was really, really amazing. So let me compliment you and talk about what a great start you have, what a great launch you've had, and tell you that, like Anya and others, I hope I'll be able to continue to engage with all of you, and that this won't be the last time you invite me to Afghanistan.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. We wouldn't have been able to do this without you. So now everyone knows that Marilyn had a big share in contribution to IGF Afghanistan. Thank her for that, and we'll definitely invite you to the next. And you're gonna apply for ISOC Afghanistan membership, I heard. Okay, great. That was excellent. Thank you very much. If there is no other comments, okay, you have something? Okay, very briefly, and then we have a performance like 2 to 3 minutes, then we go for lunch. We're gonna be starting a little late, but anyways.
Thank you very much. I'll not take more than 2 minutes. I'm addressing you people, the participants. Your participation was very weak. Why I'm saying this? This was a platform which I didn't have when I went for the APNIC. And when I went to the APNIC, I was not understanding how to ask my question because I was not having this platform to train me. But now that ISOC, IGFA has given you this platform, and you're not asking questions, you're not practicing what has been the opportunity given to you, you're losing it. So please, learn from here, ask your questions, participate, go for the discussion, go for the dialogues, go for the ping pong with your questions and with the points that you have in your mind. Don't keep it in your mind. If it's in your mind, it's for you. If you're taking it out, it's for the society. One thing. Second, IGFA, ISOC, Mr. Ansari and Mr. Wafa. Now that you are leading it and Mr. Taqwa is not here, the educational community is completely absent today. I'm not saying about the students. The education community, what I mean is the professors, the head of departments, the chancellors of the universities, they're absent today. And we're losing a very big portion of the society in this IGFA. So for the next time, I suggest that we convince them anyway to come here and participate with us. Thirdly, Mr. Yari has snatched my each word. Yes, the sector that we are again missing here is the private sector, the regulatory. We are not having any member from Ministry of Finance. We are not having from the Administrative Office of the President, from the MCIT. And this is kind of thing that we are just saying something in the air and we are losing those words. So for the next IGFA, I think these points needs to be focused beside the others that Mr. Yari and or other speakers has been mentioned. And you participants, please do use this opportunity to ask your questions, and no question is stupid until the answer is stupid. That's what I believe. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you very much. Those were very important points, and we believe that academia is a major stakeholder when it comes to the IG issues. The key stakeholders are government, private sector, civil society, technical community, academia, and sometimes they include media as a separate stakeholder. So I'm going to give it to the government stakeholder. Nadia is from the Afghans AFG NEC, and she has been contributing a lot. And the websites you have, it's called CCTLD, Country Code Top Level Domain .af. You've heard about that. She has been managing this for years, and now I'd like to invite her to comment.
سلام عرض می کنم خدمت تمام حاضرین و قدم نخست IGF و تمام همکاران و همچنان برای آقای عمر منصور انصاری و آقای اسماعیل علی وفا تبریکی میگم و واقعا یک گام بسیار بزرگ است و من قسمی که در 2 روز ما نتونستم که اشتراک کنم از حضور شما معذرت میخوایم چون بنابر مشکلاتی که داشتم نتونستم بهم. خب ما نمیخوایم به نمایندگی از وزارت مخابرات من اینجا امروز بر شما صحبت کنم یا نمایندگی کنم چون اینجا آقای یاری و آقای پایاب هستن و اینا میتونن که از وزارت مخابرات نمایندگی کنن و بر شما صحبت کنن. صرف من میخواستم اونقدر تبریکی بگم برای آقای وفا و آقای عمر منصور انصاری و چون این بار اول بود IGF وزارت مخابرات نتونستن که درست یعنی برای شما رو حمایت کنن. ما کاملا متیقن هستم که در سال آینده وزارت مخابرات بتونه شما را درست سپورت کنه و شما همیشه سپورت وزارت مخابرات با خود می داشته باشید و همچنان وزارت مخابرات نمیتونه که به تنهایی یعنی شما را سپورت کنه تا اون لحظه که سکتور امر شما همکار نباشه. دیگه در این قسمت ما باز هم از حضور شما معذرت میخوایم که به این که ما مدیر عمومی .af هستم و من نتونستم دیروز نمایندگی کنم باز هم معذرت میخوایم. تشکر. تبریک باشه بر شما.
زنده باشین. تشکر. و ما همیشه افتخار میکنیم که خانم‌ها را در پوزیشن های بسیار بلند حکومتی و در سکتور خصوصی میبینیم. واقعا نادیا هاشمی کانتریبیوشن بسیار بزرگ داشتند در سکتور ICT افغانستان و وزارت مخابرات طبعا دیگه لید میکنه می پروسس. ما افتخار داریم که امروز وزارت مخابرات اترا و دیگه استیکولدرایی که از گورنمنت هستن از حکومت هستن امروز از اینا بسیار نزدیک کار کردیم و به امید از اینکه داینده هم ما بتوانیم که همکاری داشته باشیم. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much Bahar Ismat from ICANN, Anya Gingu from the IGF Secretariat, Marilyn Cade from the ICANN Business Constituency, and Lewal from Lewal Limited, and Yari from ATRA, Nadia Shimi from the Afghan CCTLD, and yeah, Joe, of course, but I cannot forget him from the CLDP and Mr. Azizi from the American University of Afghanistan. And thank you all for being with us. It's a lunchtime. I don't want to keep you waiting more, so I'll wrap it up here. Thank you all, and we go for lunch. But before that, there is a little performance by Leval team. I'm going to invite them here to come and let's see. Pashto TV team. Okay, so if they can come here and do this performance, are you ready?